Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
In the early part of the last century, science discovered that there was this huge, universal, unified field of energy. And at the time, even amongst scientists, it caused quite a stir. About 75 years ago, a fellow by the name of Max Planck identified the existence of this unified field, and he called it the matrix. Well, it took about 25 years for it to then start churning in the mills of the possibilities. And it was in 1999 that the first movie came out called The Matrix. Now, what it portrayed and what Max Planck portrayed, very different. But yet, it still brought forth possibilities that could challenge the awareness of humanity to begin to look at themselves and look at their lives and look at what they're doing differently. Our individual energy fields are constantly interacting with each other and with this larger universal field. And our thoughts and our beliefs, our feelings and our intentions are influencing our own energy field and affecting others. Our individual energy fields are communicating with everything around us. Perhaps, this puts into perspective just how incredibly powerful our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and intentions are. When you come to the realization that it's what's going on inside of you, that's the most important thing in your life, you have what is often referred to as an awakening. There isn't really anything on the outside, because everything on the outside, so to speak, is a result of what's going on the inside. That's really difficult to grasp when you're of the awareness that everything out there is affecting you. But when you begin to look at it and really pay attention, you become increasingly aware that it is your perception of what's going on out there that determines what's going on with you in relationship to out there. Are we ready for this? Well, we damn sure better be. Because the fact of the matter is, that's exactly a part of humanity's awakening. To begin to realize that we are constantly visualizing, we're constantly seeing things in our mind's eye. And those thoughts and images are the first step of what we create in our lives. It's much like an architect. First thing an architect does is get the thought of what the building's going to be and brings that thought together into a conceptualized, recognizable form. And then that form is presented to others, and others with their thoughts about it bring it together into a collective endeavor to cause that thought in the architect's mind to come into physical manifestation. We're constantly doing the same thing. But most of us don't put the pieces together as they're happening. And it's understandable. You see, it's a bit of a challenge to become aware of our own thought patterns. But once we become aware, we can also start changing them. Now, why would we want to do anything like that? Well, if you ever pay attention to what's going on inside your own head, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because it's important to understand that most of our negative thoughts, where did that jump into the picture? Where did they come from? Well, they're programmed in childhood. And those thoughts went straight into our subconscious minds, unquestioned and unchallenged. Over time, these thoughts can turn into negative beliefs, such as, hey, I'm just not good enough. The world is a dangerous place. And this can trigger emotional responses that before we can process what has happened, they overwhelm us. And that's because we are experiencing them in an unconscious state of receptivity. So look at this now and begin to see this great universal, unified energy field includes all of us, and all of us together are supporting another energy field, the human unconscious energy field, where all of our unconscious thoughts, beliefs, emotions that have a similarity are gathered and are working off of each other, supporting each other, and bringing that great possibility into your sweet little mind. And it happens to all of us in a very unconscious way. How does this tie into spirituality? Very simple. We who we are, as beings clothed in bodies of earth, have certain tools that we use to communicate in ourselves, with ourselves, and with everything and everyone else around us. And we're making reference to those tools right now. Those tools are thought. They are emotion. They are belief. They are intention. And when we begin to have an awakening to seeing how vitally important it is for us to be aware of ourselves, in the way that we relate to the rest of everything else out there, we begin to see how it is that we are the molders and the shapers of our lives. And that spirituality doesn't really wear the cloak of religion well. Religion doesn't serve spiritual awakening to any great degree. It is required of us that we begin to look and see that as beings who are awakening, we need to recognize the thoughts that we think, the feelings that we feel, are the foundational building blocks upon which we establish our lives. Now, we see that from that, thoughts either support us or they don't. It's up to us to determine what thoughts we're going to entertain. And this then brings a whole nother consideration forward, and it is we operate under an assumption that the thoughts that we experience inside of us originate with us. that we are the thinker. We are the original thinker of the thoughts. When the fact of the matter is, if we're unconscious, we are picking up on many unconscious thoughts that have a similar rate of vibration to the one that we have operating inside of us in our own awareness. So, then I bring the question forward. What if? What if we're not thinking thoughts? What if we're attaining thoughts? What if instead of thinking thoughts, we're simply obtaining them? That we are in our unconscious state, believing that we're thinking thoughts, when we're simply being fed thoughts, and we're acting as if, oh, wow, I just had this most fantastic thought. Or, you know what, I really don't like you because of the way you look. Your clothes are very off-putting. Your behavior is terrible. And I'm being an original thinker and coming to that conclusion, you see. But then again, I look around me and I see there are a lot of other people, I'm sure, who would agree with me. So therefore, I can substantiate my unconscious involvement in thinking and come to an erroneous conclusion. I am an original thinker. The thoughts you think. You see, I'm really encouraging you to choose to pay attention to what goes on inside of you so that you can begin to see what's going on and then ask some really outrageous questions such as, is that who I want to be? Is that how I want to experience myself? Does that make me feel good about me being me, entertaining the thoughts that are entering into my awareness? What if, when we're talking about this universal, unified field of consciousness, this energy field, what if we actually choose to be present here now and do a little distancing ourselves from our belief self? What could there possibly be gained there? Could we actually tap into the mind of God, so to speak? Is it possible that there is a stream of dynamic energy that could be picked up on and recognized in me as thought? Could I think in harmony with universal mind? Could I actually open myself up and become present, so present that I experienced the presence of God right here, right now? Or do I have to go off to some hallowed, sacred, holy location and go into some sort of retreat? Well, all of this is really making reference to a state that you do need to go into, and that is retreating from human consciousness and opening yourself up so that you can be present with here, now. Eventually, we become clear enough to recognize that the presence of God, source, universal intelligence, whatever name you want to call it, is always, and it is here, and it is here now. The only thing that's separating us from it is a lack of perception on our part of it. And the nice thing about it is it's not concerned nor worried like we often frantically get because we don't feel we are where we should be or need to be. Imagine if you were able to take this developing awareness inside yourself and apply it to yourself, to where you would begin to be open and receptive to who you truly are. What kind of an impact would that have on the thoughts you think? What kind of an impact would that have on the feelings you feel? And how would you be inclined to view yourself so far as any belief might be concerned? Could it have an impact on what you then intend for yourself and your life? These are possibilities for you to discover, because I certainly can't do it for you. And it's just as well, because I'd probably screw it up. I would want to see it the way I think you should do it, when in reality, that's where many of us run amok, is in our developing awareness, believing that we have the right to impose our shift in perception upon another. And it doesn't really work well that way, as I'm sure we're going to continue to discover. So if this has totally put you off, congratulations. If this has stirred you to consider maybe it's okay that what you know, and what you don't know, you don't know, and that there's a chance you could even find out more. And it might be in the latter field you come to realize more of what you don't know. This is called clearing. It's like getting rid of non-essentials so that you can get down to a space in yourself where you feel yourself without feeling weighted down. The thoughts you think. My goodness me. Thank you.
For more information about the Metaphysical Church of Enlightenment or the Rodin Foundation, please go to our website at www.rodin.org. If you have been inspired by the revelations shared in these podcasts, please donate to the Rodin Foundation's ongoing efforts to help others help themselves at www.rodin.org/donate.